Hello and welcome to another episode of the DewatchPod podcast. I am Jorgen Smorgasbord.
And I am Jim with a G.
And today we watched the Waldo Moment, which is the final episode of Season 2. We, of course, are watching all Black Mirror seasons in reverse order, though we started before Season 7 came out, so that's still in the pipe.
Yeah, it's reverse order with a little bit of an asterisk, but you know,
reverse season order, but also we can't
release...
predict
the future.
Well, we didn't actually know when Season 7 was going to come.
No, when we started this, we knew it was going to come at some point.
Yeah,
but, it hadn't had an official announcement.
Hello,
we also
Podcat.
have a podcast.
That's right, Podcat. We don't have any content warnings for you this episode, except for, British politics in general. Yeah. And British actors, I suppose.
Okay, so now we're okay with
I don't know, I feel like people might have, I recognize everyone in this episode moment, That's
fair. I am thankfully immune to this due to my poor facial recognition abilities.
Not because you don't watch TV or movies.
I'm very well equipped to not recognize people in movies.
Yeah, would we recommend that the people watch this episode?
Yeah, I'd say so.
I recommend it with, the caveat that, if you sort of have a lot of social cringing.
Yes, it's a painful episode to watch through. It was for me too, if that helps.
Yeah, no, and I think I'm the more sensitive one of us in this regard. So it trips quite a few barriers.
It's rough. It's not there have been episodes of this show that have been unenjoyable to watch in a lot of moments just because they're genuinely quite gross or just misery porn. This one is very cringy and intentionally so, to be clear. This is not a got him. But yeah, it's I think it's still worth watching.
Yeah, no, you do need to just before watching this, go into your mind and tell yourself this episode was written maybe in 2012.
Yeah.
Released in 2013. And you just need to hold on to that knowledge so you don't go mad with the strangeness of the distance, because I think one thing, and we're reaching ahead a little bit here, but one thing that just underlies this episode for us as a whole is that of all the fields of society, the most time has happened between then and now in politics.
I think this is watching a home videotape from I want to say December 2019, going, oh man, I feel a bit feverish, that's the vibe I get. Also, I would say I recommend getting a stress ball for the cringe moments, just have something to squeeze it out.
Future Jorgen here with a quick note of fact. I talk a lot about the UK regime of austerity, meaning low government spending here, and the time frame for that is from late 2010 onwards. So whenever I fumble with it is in the wake of the 2008 financial crisis, it is in 2010 under David Cameron when that starts. Yeah.
But yeah, shall we get into...
Let
us do so. So we have... Where do we start? Because we start with a lady who wants to be an MP.
Yeah.
We are very shortly transitioning into why there's an opening for an MP.
Yeah.
Which is the usual British thing.
Yeah, it's a pedophile MP who got outed, which I guess is the unusual part.
Yes, sir. And then we transition onto a comedy show where we meet our protagonist, Jamie Salter, apparently, I think was in his name.
Yeah, his last name doesn't matter. His name is Jamie, and he plays Waldo, a cartoon bear who is rude to people.
That's it. That's his entire job. And it's not highbrow humor.
No.
It's not particularly well executed lowbrow humor. No. But he's around. And he says mean things, and we can all get behind that, except, we kind of can't. That's kind of the... Oh, we'll get to that. But yeah, he has. I believe the first thing, if we start getting into like the main plot here, is where he essentially interviews Liam Monroe, who is the Tory candidate for the local district, which is like, man, we should have had a British person on hand here because I cannot remember British place names. They all sound like Stuffington and Hertshire or something like that, and I genuinely think I'm not that far off.
I mean, I don't remember if it was even said, to be honest.
It's said multiple times.
It's not super relevant, I don't think. At least, like, I didn't go like, that makes sense because we're in this place.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I guess, like, the plot of this episode is actually, like, quite reasonably elaborate because, like, while these, like, underlying thing that happens is fairly straightforward, like, there is, like, a few things that happen to, like, propel it. Like, the extremely short version is that, like, this cartoon bear runs in this by-election because the pedophile resigned, and almost wins and becomes a political brand.
Yeah.
The long version is that Jamie, the actor behind him, has an extremely bad time throughout all of this. He hooks up with the Labour candidate, who is the person we see in the opening scene, has like a genuine connection.
Somehow.
Yeah, no, like it's
They learn a little bit about each other that they should not know based on their like
Yeah.
political rivalry, but they go on. I think it's also like it's an establishing thing here that like Jamie seems very depressed. Like I'm just gonna straight
yeah,
up like
no,
he's
he-
having like he's having his midlife crisis like 12 years early. It's bad.
like it's worse than a midlife crisis. Even like he seems like a man who's never been happy.
Yeah, I think he almost says that at one point.
Like
but he heavily implies it.
it is more or less like he has not been happy in his adulthood. That
Yeah.
seems like quite straightforward. Like,
And I think importantly, how this manifests. The clinical presentation of his depression, if you will, has a lot to do with apathy and disdain. He is very clearly like apathetic to most of the world, and what he is not apathetic towards, he is disdainful towards. Mostly politics. Though he clearly has political thoughts in there somewhere.
yeah, though they're not like that deep.
They're not well established, and I mean, he points himself out as he's not that smart. Like he's
Yeah,
not
no.
dumb, but
He-
he's not
He does.
incisive.
Yeah, he has the very fun line that he is not smart or dumb enough to like enter into politics.
Yeah. He's self-aware in a sad way, you know?
Yeah. And I guess like I want to flag this here because it is something that comes up like a number of times in the episode where like there is a lot of like thesis statements
Oh yeah.
of like characters just like saying what they think the episode is about,
Yes.
like very straightforwardly. Interestingly, the Tory candidate gets the most of these, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, so I want to look at like the tour candidate here, right? Because the way the rough timeline of this episode goes as like at first Waldo enters into this like by-election as a joke to get like
Yeah.
PR for the show he's on. Then he, in kind of the heat of the moment, makes a
Yeah.
big impassioned speech on like what seems to be like a student interview sort of
Yeah,
show.
and this is like specifically in the wake of Jamie being like not like dumped but like shelved by like his
Political
labor
love.
love.
Yeah.
Also, like, remember, this is 2013, so none of these parties exist anymore in any meaningful way.
That's fair. Yeah.
Like, this is just, like, a completely different political world. And, like, as a result of this, he is mad and also knows more than he should. So he, like,
He goes off.
yeah, and like specifically the way this keeps being framed is Jamie going like, I don't really want to do this, and then he gets pressured into it, and more or less like every time like the things that are handed to him is like just deflect, just use the bear character to deflect. and this is like extremely explicit. Like this is fully on the surface that
Yeah,
this is like that this is something he is like he has to do because his lack of having anything political to say means he is backed into a corner constantly.
yeah. I
Which,
think.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, like that's. I suppose we'll get into that when we talk properly about what this episode says. It's not particularly subtle, but
Yeah.
I think it's interesting at least to go
Yes.
into. But I was gonna say, like, following this, he gets a lot more popular. He, in the long run, doesn't win, and in specific, like he gets second place though, so he beats out the Labour candidate.
yeah.
And on the road, he basically has an argument with his former. I don't know.
A hookup.
Yeah, his
Yeah,
hookup.
like his hookup, who he's like deeply smitten with,
Yeah.
but also like who he like mistreated by
Really badly. Airing out
in
her.
in a public forum discussion.
Yes, he decided like, I have been. Someone has said I do not currently have time for you, even though I would like to.
Well, she hasn't made that clear. So,
No.
like, the way the show arranges the pieces is that he is, like, entering into, like, that situation with, like, the full, like, anger of heartbreak. And he is like, okay, I'm going to destroy your political career over what amounts to a misunderstanding of, like, she will call him later.
Yeah.
As opposed to now.
But yeah, eventually he has a confrontation with her, and she's like,
What the fuck, dude?
yeah, what the fuck, dude? Obviously, I can't be like seeing you, my political rival, during the campaign, which is temporary. Like, I think the number of votes is like something like 40,000 in total.
Though, like, that, she does not, like, say that explicitly then either. She attacks him on the political front, right?
Well, she does say, I would have called you after the campaign.
Yes, but that is after. Like, his coming to Jesus moment is, like, in the wake of her, like, politically, like, lambasting him, right? She's, like, you stand for nothing, you destroy the ability to do proper opposition, like, you're extremely bad, right?
But it's the same scene that she says.
Are you sure?
Yes. Like, that's the office scene where she gets up and she's like, I would have called you, is the first thing she says, and then she goes into, you are meaningless and terrible.
Alright, then I mixed that up. But yeah, like, she fully lays into, like, the like, joke political character angle, like, effectively, and so on and so forth. And he takes this to heart, and he's like, alright, I'm going to get into the Waldo mobile, and I'm going to resign. But what happens instead is he is
Usurped.
He's usurped. He's Waldo usurped. Like he tries to go like, you shouldn't vote for me, you idiots. Like this is obviously very bad for democracy and whatever. And then he like gets kicked out of the van, and the other guy who technically owns the character takes over and is like 500 quid to whoever beats this guy up.
Yeah.
Which is just the new strategy of Waldo.
Yeah, he's apparently very wealthy. 500 quid is a lot, man. Like,
Well, in 2013 especially.
Oh, yeah,
the pound
yeah.
wasn't like trust then.
That's true. Damn. But yeah, I was gonna say, like, so Liam Monroe, the Tory candidate, is very interesting, right? Because he essentially gets harassed, as one does in politics, by Waldo for, like, the starting bit. And he is reluctant to engage, but also is, like, does seem to have some personal stake in, like, I think politics means something. And, like, like that kind of goads him into being like, listen, yeah, maybe people think you're funny, but you contribute nothing to this discussion. And then he kind of continuously gets owned back a little bit.
But yeah, just to finish, right? He Jamie like tries to quit. Waldo is just usurped instead. Ends up not winning the election, but like Jamie is just like emotionally still devastated by the impact he's had nevertheless.
Yeah.
And then we cut to credits, and in between credits we get this like very odd like flash forward to like a global
Fascist.
Waldo fascism.
Yeah, that one is it's indulgent. I think is the word I can think of.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's that
I
deep.
No, I don't think it's that deep, but I think it's something that we can come back to because I do think it says
Yeah.
a little bit at least about the consequences of this type of politicking.
It says something about the writers.
That too. But that's
yeah.
this podcast, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's how do we psychoanalyze Charlie Brooker's inner life through his work.
Oh shit, is this a Brooker only, right?
This is a Brooker only one, right?
It is based on a short story, I believe.
I think what it said actually was that this came up as like an idea for a previous show he was on.
I see.
Like it's so maybe this can be our continuation of the podcast when we're done. Nathan Barley originated in an idea for Nathan Barley, which I think I also read when that text came up as like based on a short story by Nathan Barley. But I believe Nathan Barley is a show, not a person.
Well, that's very confusing. But
Yes.
thank you for being so Wikipedia literate.
You're welcome. Autism helps out yet again.
Yeah, no, it's like each podcast needs at least one autistic co-host. Otherwise, who's gonna know what's going on?
Yeah.
But yeah, and yeah, that's the episode, and so we have so many thesis statements, right?
Yeah, it's not a saddle episode. It really wants its point to get across.
Let's go through them. So we've like accounted for all of them. We have Gwen, the Labour candidate and love interest,
in her speech in the office.
Yeah, in her office speech, like laying out the like hollowness of anti-system politics.
There's Liam Monroe on the student show where he basically like goes through you do a funny thing so you are immune to criticism but you contribute nothing to this. There is, I think, doesn't the Waldo actor himself give a thesis statement once or twice?
He has the "I'm not dumb or smart enough" bit, which I think is genuinely like a part of it. His initial like sort of angry rant at the Tory is fairly substantive. Or reasonably substantive, because he's like, you stand for nothing, no one trusts you, so you knew the paedophile for 20 years and claim to have not known.
Yeah. I think that's like an underlying thesis statement of like, because right, okay, this episode is fundamentally about two things, right? Like it's about the distrust of politicians, the lacking nature of the status quo that leads to political dissatisfaction. That is point one. And point two is joke candidates like pointless defiance. These sorts of things are not good. They're not the solution. They make things worse. Right. The latter has a thesis statement in Gwendolyn and the Tory politician. The first one, I think our main character Waldo, that's the thesis statement he makes on that show, right?
Yeah. We've got another one by the Tory, just like in the car, and this one's like very short.
Yes.
But he's just like, he keeps going, the system is ridiculous, and maybe it is, but it built these roads.
Yeah, I think that one actually is pretty good. Like it
is a bit too on the nose for me to not be like a little bit rankled by it.
So, like, that's the funny thing about it to me, because that one is way less on the nose than any of the other thesis statements to me.
Well, I guess it's from I parse it more in the context of like in the other, like the Office one, like I get. Now this I think is worth examining, because like I do think like a lot of the thesis statements are made by characters speaking in anger.
Yes.
And for some reason, I am somewhat inclined to take those as a bit more authentically. The most like thesis statement one that is like technically very on the nose is made by someone speaking on a political stage, like the Tory going, you stand for nothing, etc., etc., in the student debate, and that is just actually like what you're supposed to do, though.
Yeah, it makes sense in the context.
But yeah,
I don't know. I will say I do it's strange because the Tory politician here is a bad dude, right? Like he's like, oh, addicts should blame only themselves, right? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
But he's not as bad as future politicians.
Yeah, he's a decorum guy.
He's a decorum guy, and like we don't get explicit mention of him being like pro-pedophile in his private life or like really racist or stuff like that. We can assume based on his party, but also 2013, slightly different time in a sense. But the point I was going to make is like I like that scene where he quietly reflects like he's a career politician, right? Like he has all the ability in the world to say like, yeah, this system is ridiculous, I'm milking it for profit, and he still ponders on it and goes, the system might be absurd in many ways, but also like it works to an extent. It's not perfect, but it does things.
Yeah, and yet it like it's very interesting because like Britain, it has a notorious pothole problem.
Yes.
Which
I think you can add to the analysis here.
Yeah, no, and I think that doesn't make the character like in context less sincere, but it makes it right because this is 5 years after Occupy, right, and it is, I think it's 5 years into austerity. Though I'm not sure if they didn't like try a bit of that earlier on as well, unfortunately.
I can't say I know.
Yeah, no, but like at this point we've definitely had like a few years of like austerity, and I know far too much about British politics, but like the gist of it is that basically all over Europe after the financial crisis, elites closed ranks and were like, we're not doing more social spending. We're just going to like solve budget shortfalls with cuts. And Britain is like the absolute leader on this. Like, second to none.
Austerity from the jewel encrusted throne.
Yeah, no, and it's like and all of these people, to be clear, are earnest in their belief that this will help. And all of these people are essentially engaging in a project to foreclose the possibility of positive political change, leaving only open the alternative of bad political change. And interestingly, right, you noted that this was like mentioned that Boris Johnson was mentioned as an inspiration. Boris Johnson, while he's not like a cadre Tory in some senses, like he is genuinely like wasn't like from like the core ranks of Tories. He like bristled against some of them like quite well, but they were like, well, we've got the guy, we gotta use him. But like that is still like a guy the Tories promoted, right? This is not external to the Tory party. This is not external to British conservatism, and I think that is actually somewhat unique to Britain, because I think like elsewhere you do have the tendency rather for it to break the sort of two-block system, as opposed to like I guess America also had this, obviously.
Yeah, that's what
but like in like outside of first past the post countries, the conservatives did genuinely stick more to the quorum than the British did with like Boris Johnson, and then got outflanked to the right. But yeah, it's an odd point to make in Britain, because that is where like it leaked into the mainstream more than pretty much anywhere. Even I think they like outflanked the US. Well, no, I guess they were like sort of on pace with the US. So in that sense, like the Tory politician, like in our like historical recollection now, is just like proven wrong on every front, right? Like his party does not stand for decorum. His party let these things in the door. His party is responsible for austerity and potholes.
Yeah.
And you know, like you can despise Keir Starmer rightfully, but like the Labour wasn't in power until like last year, right?
Yeah, no, like I see what you mean, but I think like that scene to me does not necessarily talk about the Conservatives. Like, yes, you can point out that like clearly things are bad in the UK already at this time, and it's only going to get worse for the next at least decade. Who knows how many decades we have left? But the point being that like I don't think he's talking about the Conservative Party. I think he's talking about democracy, like representative democracy, and not just flat out rejecting the concept. I just like embracing pure nihilism in the face of voting and stuff like that, right? Because and I think the potholes thing, like as a representative like metaphor here, like I think it works pretty well. Because yeah, those roads are not going to be amazing. Like they are going to have issues, and they're going to have issues that the current system are failing to address properly by, for example, austeritying everything. But they are still there, and the alternative is nothing, right?
Well, my point is rather that, like, the particular point in time of this episode, like, all of these things are already, like, completely on the wrong track and going out of control. But they're not, like, so far, like, derailed yet that it's like entirely obvious, right? This is a fairly new development at this point.
Yeah, like I mean, Charlie Brooker here, I think maybe assumes that Boris Johnson would come to be more at odds with the Conservative Party as a whole than he turned out to be.
Maybe. I mean, I suspect that Boris Johnson was like not necessarily that. Well, I suppose it's hard to speculate, but at the end of the day, I don't think that it was that much of an inspiration for like the episode in like its details, rather than just like in the broad strokes that like he's the funny guy who always deflects, and that is very that is very well angled as a criticism.
Yeah.
Um,
I think the reason I do, because this episode is not actually particularly well received. It's considered like the worst of the first two seasons at the very least.
Interesting.
I think it's very interesting. Yeah, like I don't know why. Like it's okay. Well, I do kind of know why. It's very clunky, right? Like it is not beautifully written. I think it's incisive to a degree, and I think it's quite prescient, right? Like, because this sort of attitude of like, oh, politicians are blah blah blah. That's why I don't vote. That's why I vote for the joke candidate who says we should kill everyone, and then oh no, he killed everyone, right? Like, I think that's quite a prescient observation on the way like this sort of like neoliberal status quo was going, right?
Yeah, and like we're sort of past that like phase now, because we are returned to like very high voter turnouts and engagement on account of everything is profoundly high stakes now.
Yeah.
Because suddenly there's always like a fascist with like 45% polling.
But that's the thing, is that like even now I think there are plenty of people who do hold the attitude, right? Like not just apathy towards democracy or politics in general, but specifically that have the like, oh, it doesn't matter if I vote, it doesn't matter, like, who cares, everything's gonna be the same anyway. Like that is still and I think the interesting thing is that sort of attitude has spread from just the sort of like disaffected general populace into, for example, leftist spaces where they go like, don't vote for like Joe Biden because, and like, I mean, there's a lot of meaningful critiques there that we shan't discuss, but I think there are wings here that do just say like, don't vote for anyone, vote for the small party that has 10 voters, like.
Yeah.
Just go completely out into the woods.
And yeah, I think like there is like the most prescient part of this episode for sure is like it's not so much the bear as it is like Jamie himself as like a type of person, right? Because he has all these misgivings and he understands things are bad, and he like fails to like channel that meaningfully whatsoever.
Yeah.
And
He is very content to just check out.
well, yeah, but I think there is like a systemic component as well, where no meaningful change isn't necessarily on the ballot, right? Because, well, I guess in this one it's like sort of written off as like, well, the Tories gonna win anyway.
Yeah. And I think they even very explicitly say the Tory will keep everything the same anyway.
Yeah.
Like,
sorry, I just got hit by a psychic blast.
Yeah.
From remembering the CIA plot.
Yeah, I don't get that one, to be honest.
So, for the sake of completeness,
Yeah, for the sake of the
there is a
universe.
quick meeting that Jamie and his handler have with a guy who is from the CIA and who is like, oh, yeah, no, we can turn Waldo global.
I suppose that is another thesis statement, because they explain they want to give an extra, like, they want to give a little PhD thesis on why this works as opposed to like a real person.
Yeah, and it is straight up a CIA guy. He is just identified as being from the agency, but he does just go like, oh yeah, no, we've got something in South America we want to do. This is the CIA.
Yeah.
And his thing is like, well, you went too vulgar off the bat, but like if we like sprinkle in some hope, this can be a global brand of politics.
Yeah.
And this is basically like the only dot connecting the main body of the episode to the like inter-credit scenes of global Waldo fascism.
Well, yes, it is in terms of what it is in universe, but
Yeah.
okay, so broadly, this episode is very, very clumsy. I hope we can agree on that.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, I don't think it's like that extraordinary clumsy apart from like the end.
I think the multitude of thesis statements are a bit much. But I suppose that's like.
I don't think that makes it that out of the ordinary, I guess.
I think it's a bit more than the usual Black Mirror.
Yeah,
but,
for
but
sure. For sure.
But you are right in that the ending is where they go, okay, I see. Like, that is it's very indulgent. It's very like, let's just skip ahead the writing to get here. Simultaneously, in hindsight, also kind of like a little prescient, right? Like,
yeah,
because essentially what this comes down to, and in a weird way, I would almost say there's some slight touch of subtlety here, because the implication to me is just this use of like completely non-constructive anger at the status quo being directed towards establishing a worse status quo, right? That is decisively true. We have observed, and might I add, the global nature of this is like a real thing, right? Like there was a time where we had Trump, we had Boris Johnson, we had Duterte in the Philippines, we had Bolsonaro, we had I'm blanking on Hungary's
Orban.
Thank you. Like there was a very, very worrying wave here, and the interconnected nature of these movements was a real thing. They were borrowing from each other.
I think that's still ongoing, and
there's also recently been a bit of a counter movement if we look at Canada and Australia.
Yeah, both of them having the milquetoast centrists pick up anti-Trump sentiment.
Well, yeah, and I think that says something about it, because like there has been a backlash against people who have been associating with this greater sort of like populist right-wing anti-democracy sentiment.
Yeah, and like Macron is also one of these guys, right? Like, he is like yes, we're the Democratic Front. Like the sort of broad idea of a Democratic Front that can't agree on anything except for keep the fascists out.
And keep the leftists out.
Yeah.
If we're talking about France.
Well, I mean, it is always like a bit more like nominally open to the left in order to later sway to the right.
Yes.
And, you know, you have that in France, you have that in Germany. You have that, like, pretty much in a lot of places, I think. So, like, you do have sort of, like, this weird centrist backlash to Trump as well. But, yeah, no, what I sort of wanted to go in on there is that this is, like, fundamentally very much about it is like a bit about influencer stuff, because influencer stuff is fundamentally about authenticity, right? And that is like something that this episode is deeply interested in.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? Because
there's this part of like, yes, you say you're not real, but you also say you're realer than everyone else.
Yeah.
And that feels like a very, very strong...
Another thesis statement.
It's another thesis statement. And for once, I actually want to say, I think this is a good thesis statement, because it's actually succinct. It's actually succinct and it's delivered very quickly, but also like, I don't know, it's quite dense if you extrapolate it to influencers, if you extrapolate it to the kind of populist politicians who are like, yeah, I'm a man of the people. I don't care about these big wigs in Washington. Also, I come from one of the wealthiest families alive.
Yeah, or like I'm funded personally by Peter Thiel.
Yeah, like it works.
And I think, like, to circle back to my earlier note of like the thesis statements that ring more honest to me being made in anger by characters, right? That is also what it's about to a degree, because that is one of the few signifiers of authenticity that are not like worn down yet. And I think that holds to our current moment as well, where like that it is worn down a bit more now, but like that is still like the last thing that doesn't seem to give in quite the same way that like hope and change is like just like completely worn out now. And I think what sort of emerges like not very difficultly between the lines in this episode is that it is fundamentally pitched as it is easier to be authentic when you stand for nothing. Yeah. And like it is, contrarianism is far more authentic than standing for something. And that's incisive.
It is incisive. I think it's also just connected to this idea of like liberals in particular have been obsessed with the idea of hypocrisy for a long time, right?
Oh, yeah.
And if you do not stand for anything, you cannot be hypocritical. Like that is such an easy out to that. You cannot be gotcha'd if you just say, I don't care, I hate these other guys, I don't care.
Yeah, and again, this is sort of circling back as well to Waldo as like always being on the attack because he has nothing to
defend.
Well, because he cannot defend, because he has no ability to like go, no, this is my deal.
Yeah, because every time, like, and this is also quite explicit in the episode, every time he is attacked for like, oh, you're not real, you don't stand for anything, he can at least say, well, you don't either, or like, you're even less real. You say you stand for something, but then you don't properly stand for it.
Yeah,
like you have things you want to stand for, and you do not do so perfectly. I stand for nothing, thus I'm good.
Yeah.
I am perfectly standing for nothing. And I think that's like, I don't know, it strikes me as, apart from just reflecting like a political brand, I suppose, like a political typeface here, I think it also reflects a lot of like what motivates people personally to embrace these sorts of ideologies, to be like, I don't want to get into debates, I find politics tiring, so I'm just not going to do it, and I'm going to vote for someone who's just annoying or who doesn't stand for anything either, right?
Yeah.
Like it is. I think one of those things that always struck me like around the 2010s in general is someone saying like, yeah, like caring about things is not cool, but we have to do it anyway.
Yeah, and I do think that like the episode is also like quite explicit in going like, well, yeah, no, but that's just like 2 steps before fascism, right?
About not caring about
yeah,
things,
nihilism is just like, because nihilism is like also not earnest, right? It is just,
it's defensive. It's a defense mechanism.
yeah, and like if your defense it's not like a sustainable defense mechanism, so like, yeah, eventually you need an out, and the only out from nihilism that does not need you to confront the need for sincerity is like even worse.
Yeah, because I think this is like, I'm sorry if this comes up as very Star Wars, but I think nihilism gives an easy way to spite, right? To just be like, yeah, I don't care. Why do you care? You're annoying for caring, thus I will make sure that you are punished for caring. Yeah. And this is kind of like, I think, a big part of at least the the rhetoric you see online about a lot of these right-wing groups, it's about like, oh, make the liberals cry, like, oh, look at you for caring about stuff, right? Like, that's,
Yeah.
I think that's a very fun, because I think this has like a very interesting look into like not just the broad political movement, but the individual emotions, the individual stances that lead you to getting into this.
Yeah, it's a politics of emotion. It's a politics of like bad coping mechanisms,
Yeah.
like collectively aligning to something worse.
I think that's interesting. The one thing I think I would have wanted from this episode more was maybe like actually the consequences apart from immediate fascist dystopia, right?
Yeah,
Because what we are seeing in
it
the
weakens the episode so much for me.
yeah, it does. I get what they're trying to do, but certainly you could have.
Like, it's not funny.
It's not funny. It's a bit. I mean,
It's-
well, it's very over the top. Like,
Yeah.
it's also like it strikes me that like our protagonist is in there and he's just homeless, and it's like okay, I mean like sure, but
I
like
guess,
what does that
dude.
mean? Yeah, yeah, it's a very I guess, dude.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say also just like this idea of like nihilism until spite until just like get the other ones, because for some reason not being on any team eventually or very quickly translates into being on a team that's just being annoying to and like ruining things for everyone else, right? I think what we're seeing currently in the year of our Lord 2025 is when these policies actually start screwing over even the people who voted for them, right? Like, the tariffs is a great example, right? Like, there's so many people who are like, hey, I didn't think this would actually come to punish me in any way.
Yeah, no, and I guess the thing that's for us to find out down the line is whether it's too late or not at that point.
Yeah, but I think that is one of those things that like, and I understand why this episode focuses on the things it does and why it then jumps about 15 sharks in a row at the end, which is a sick jump, might I add. I'm trying to compliment the episode. But yeah, like I think it's an interesting thing that we could have looked at, like 4 years down the line, Waldo does win a by-election and things deteriorate because there is no actual political will behind this.
Well, yeah, like what the episode means to imply is to just go, well, yeah, this is, you can just take the brand global before, like, sort of the old lie faster than the truth thing, right? If you just, like, take it global or whatever very quickly, you never need to confront like the consequences of your shit.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like the way the episode implies it works out. It's
yeah, I mean, like, yeah, the ending in particular is like, I got what I wanted to aim for. Did not do well.
Yeah.
The gun misfired or whatever. Like, also, like, I have a very quick pondering I wanted to throw at you, Jorgen. There's like a little scene on like at the ending where he's looking at like a digital billboard that like switches between different languages. Like it seems to be in China. It seems to be in like I want to say like somewhere where they write in Arabic. Definitely something in South America or like based on the previous one.
No, it's straight up global.
Yeah.
Is what they're telling us.
There's one of them that's like Waldo in a classroom, and I'm kind of like, what's going on there?
That's the China one.
Yeah, that's a China one, but like
also China isn't a democracy.
Yeah, China doesn't
work. What are
work.
you talking about?
China doesn't work.
It's very annoying. Like,
but also like, why is he in a classroom? They can't vote. Is this like indoctrinating kids?
It is just straight up Waldo is Big Brother now.
Yeah, I guess.
But global.
Man, yeah, they didn't really think of. I suppose the more I think about this scene, it didn't start off good. But the more I think about it, the more it falls apart in the implications, huh?
Yeah, no, like it's bizarre in how much it undermines the episode to like no benefit.
I think like okay, I think this is one of the first ones where like someone needed to like hold Charlie Brooker by the shoulder and go, no, not this.
Like. Yeah. Are you familiar with, like, every now and then you hear about, like, yeah, no, we, like, screen tested this film for an audience, and then we completely changed, like, the implied ending because people were mad?
Yeah.
Like,
sort of
I'm starting to understand why they do that now.
Yeah, this one was...
because they didn't do it for this one.
Like, in a way, it kind of checks out to me because, like, I still think this episode is very clumsy. I like it. I think it's quite prescient, but I think it is clumsy. This is obviously the epitome of it, and it kind of, I don't know, in a certain sense, it follows to me from the step by step here. It just, this episode does feel a bit rushed, right? Like, a lot of the dialogue to me feels like, okay, first draft, we are going to change all of this, but let's write out the thesis statement and then we'll paper over some dialogue to make it a bit subtler. And then that second draft never happened.
Yeah, I mean, I'm loath to like condemn art that where it's hard on its sleeve this much, because like I'm genuinely like pondering like this is just like Charlie Brooker like attempting to make like positive statements more than usual, right?
Yeah, this is and it strikes me as much more real than most of the stuff he makes, right? Like, this is a thing he's noticed that is like a real phenomenon, and he kind of hits it, right? Like, this is...
Yeah, but he has like absolutely nothing to actually offer for like what the like he is just like, oh, this is probably like a vulnerability. This is probably bad. And like he doesn't really like if you're gonna be very honest and real like this, I would kind of also like you to at least try to like make a statement of like, hey, here's how this might be addressed.
I was gonna say that because that's something that I pondered during the episode as well. This feels like one of those political statements that start with, well, the public is idiot. The public is very, very stupid, and
it is quite cynical underneath,
yes.
right? Because like, and I think like the epitome of that to a degree is like how once Waldo gets taken over, his bit becomes 500 quid to the person who assaults somebody for me.
Yeah.
Which probably is still a crime.
Yeah, I was thinking, I thought about it in a moment where I was like, yeah, I would probably like lightly punch someone for 500 quid. But then I was like, I also don't want to get arrested.
Yeah. But,
also, I think maybe a light punch wouldn't have done it for the money. But
and I think Charlie Brooker, like, while he is like being reasonably prescient, especially with regards to like diagnosing Jamie as a type of guy who like sees something as wrong and has no ability to do something about it.
And no will, I want to add, at least at the start. I want to say, like, I think this, I don't know, because this strikes me as a type of guy that is very real, that is like, things are bad currently, we need to change things. I'm not willing to get into the work that would be needed to change things, right? This is, He's a Tumblr poster.
Yeah, though, like, what he needs is, like, what's a depression medicine? Prozac?
Yeah, sure.
Like,
fluoxetine?
he just straight up needs to, like, mainline depression meds until his dick doesn't work anymore.
Do not mainline depression meds. They are a bit dangerous.
Like,
in that sense.
He is, like, he is like not in a state where like he is available for positive change.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I think that also very much reflects a real political voter base, right? Like, people who are mentally ill, asterisk, has bad depression or similar issues.
And of course, like, systemically caused.
Yes.
And who is just like not capable of like channeling that in a positive direction, so like all that happens is bad.
Yeah, and I was gonna get to that, like on top of the point of like, yeah, like this episode posits that you could sway 40% of the voter base by making fart jokes on stage, right? On top of that, I think there's also very something specific.
I think it's closer to 30.
I didn't count it. Oh my god.
No, I meant that is my belief about the world.
That is fair. But like, I can't help but notice that like, we don't get a lot of real criticism of the politicians and the political system that got us here, right? Yeah. Like, because that is one of those things that always strikes me when we analyze Trump, when we analyze the UK system. there are decades of failure for real change here that leads to this dissatisfaction. And the actual, like, as you say, the closing of the ranks of the elite to make sure things stay as they are.
Yeah.
Like, and the episode does not, in my opinion, actually hint at that whatsoever. What it says is, like, politicians are fake. They're using it as, like, career stages. They are using it, I guess, just to have their own personal
They're not going to make things better.
Yeah, but, like, that's different from...
But they built these roads.
They did build these roads.
And
the politicians...
the thing is, they fucking didn't, and they're not funding the, like, pothole fixing, right? And that is where this episode falls short, in my opinion, or, like, one of a number of ways, I guess. Because, like, while it like, expresses accurately this guy, the Tory, as a, like, sincerely believing, like, no, we built these roads, it does not go the step to say, like, first of all, no. Second of all, you're actively, like, dismantling the things that are keeping the status quo bearable, right? It doesn't, like, you can read between the lines and immediately go potholes like me, but that's not the text of the episode. Like, we're not, I don't know if we're supposed to, like, think that. I don't think we are.
I don't think it's necessarily either, but, like, yeah, like, specifically this idea that, like, the criticism this episode has for the current political system is more that it's sleazy, that it's inauthentic, not that it produces bad results. And I think this is, like, this strikes me as, like, if we're getting into, like, this deteriorating status quo, like, talking about living it as bearable, right? Like, we're entering, like, the quote I've heard on the internet is, like, this permanent state of bearable unhappiness.
Yeah, and it becomes less and less bearable.
Exactly. And I think that is, like, one of those things that, like, you know, we've had status quos that lasted for a long time in political history that were not good, right? Like, we want positive change, but we are, at least, like, when this episode came out, we were in an active deterioration.
Yeah. Like, since, like, the, I want to say 2001 financial crisis.
Yeah.
To some extent, right? Like...
Do you mean the 2008 financial crisis?
No.
Oh, okay, the 2008, yeah.
Like, you know, that and 9/11 and everything. Yeah. Right? Like, that might be when the Tories started austerity, but maybe Blair was still in power. Doesn't matter. Austerity bad.
I think trying to remember specific dates for political stuff on podcasts is like doing math on stream. Like, it's just one of those things that's like...
It is quite important, like, when the era started for, like, general information.
I agree, but I think we open ourselves up to getting owed in the comments.
Listen, being stupid is authentic, you know?
It's so authentic. I love... God, can I tell you, I had I'm gonna say a friend of an acquaintance who I do know voted for Trump, as a bit, and then obviously he won, and he was like, well, and you know, he probably was not the, like, dividing vote there.
Yeah, but... no, I mean, I assume, like, in a red state.
No, well,
I assume
not like
in a very blue state then.
No, like, no. Like, I think it was one of those states that kind of, or like at least counties or something that flipped from blue to red in 2016.
Yeah, but that doesn't, there are only like 5 states in the US where your vote matters.
Yeah, and this was not one of them. But it was still kind of like one of those, like, ooh.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's you know, it's tainting in a bit.
Yeah, but, there is one angle that I think Charlie Brooker also missed. Mm-hmm. Because, like, Charlie Brooker is coming at this from a very particular angle, which is a UK media guy. And sure, like, he doesn't, like, sort of appreciate the material deterioration enough, I guess. But I think one thing that also leads him to miss, and I think this is also just, like, quite hard to spot in 2013, is the underlying algorithmic nature, which... like, I've been thinking a bit more about lately, and I think it ties in quite closely to the sort of anti-system nihilist politics. Because, like, to go very Baudrillard for a second, right? Like, most of what we know about the world, we know entirely through mediated channels, right? Like that's the original like simulacrum thesis. You do not know the Vietnam War. The Vietnam War is known to you only through mediation. Maybe if you're American, you know someone who was there, but that's not a given, and
That's still mediating, right?
exactly.
Like
but like it is at least a
closer.
different channel of mediation. But yeah, no, it's and we are now in a time where, or well, in a system rather, where so much more of like the content and political things and news we receive are like algorithmically chosen, and even if we're like going out of our way to avoid the algorithms, they're still like behind the incentives to produce medium. And as a result, I think there is a simplification of sorts of like, and you were talking about this before we started recording, right? How J.K. Rowling, now in addition to her regular bullshit, has also gotten on being hateful to autistic people.
Yeah.
Or I guess ableist.
Ableist, also like for some reason acephobic recently.
Yeah.
Which is like just one of the
like my not to dwell on this too much, but right, this is not original, right? Her brain is hooked on like whatever algorithm.
It's a pipeline. Yeah, like
it's a pipeline. It's an algorithm. It is opinions which have been deemed by like a bunch of like I was on YouTube in 2014 and I was interested in strategy games and politics, and they were like, would you like to learn about Jordan Peterson?
Yeah.
And I was like, please do not show me videos from any of these channels anymore.
Yeah.
And I did that for a very long time.
I got recommended like a Ben Shapiro video like 2 years ago. Still, like it's crazy.
No, like, and these these opinions are like they don't come to be in a vacuum. They come to be through like quite intransparent and yet predictable like machine sorting. And like I think that is a very important thing to keep in mind when trying to parse the Waldo episode.
I think there's an interesting corollary, because one thing I would say that like this message is right is that all of these like demagogues and like populist politicians are never like from the people, right? Like they are always extremely rich and usually at least somewhat politically established. And I think that's kind of tied in, right? Because this is about like what is considered authentic, what is like this. How can we look at people who have engineered these algorithms and who have paid for the ads to just be like anti-establishment? Like, how can we actually believe these things? And that is one thing I think the Waldo thing actually misses, because this, with all due respect, this show does not seem amazing. Like, it doesn't seem like it's the biggest show in the UK or anything.
No.
Like, it has a platform.
It's a thing that went viral once.
Yeah.
That is its magnitude.
And I think it's interesting that that's where this comes from. That it seems like distinctly middle class rather than one of the people who have always sat at the top now branding themselves as like a peasant leader, you know?
Yeah, I want to pitch you a counterfactual for how this episode ends. Mm-hmm. Because, like, briefly in the beginning, we're told, like, well, no, you can run fictional characters. You just do, like, an better known as, and it's fine.
Yeah.
And that never, like, comes up again, because it's just, like, here's how that works.
Yeah.
But, if you end the episode with Waldo actually winning, but also Waldo being usurped from the guy who's presumably like on the paperwork.
Right.
That would be fun, wouldn't it?
I don't know what that would imply.
Well, it would sort of pull things more into the open, in an interesting way.
Because that would imply to me that like the guy who has turned on Waldo becomes, elected, and
No, my pitch is that Jimmy becomes elected, and Waldo, he ceases to be Waldo.
Oh, like the manager?
No,
James is the protagonist.
yeah, don't they call him Jimmy?
Do they? I don't. Okay, not important.
Jamie, sorry.
But that's what I mean. Is that he is now against Waldo, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
he gets
but
elected.
he gets elected as Waldo.
Yeah.
I think that would be very interesting to show as a wrench.
I think if the rest of the episode stays the same, I think that would be too positive for Charlie Brooker in 2013. Because that would mean, like, actual potential change.
Yeah. I mean, it is just, like, the time that sucks.
Yeah, a little.
Because...
But, like, I don't know, simultaneously, I think it's very cool to see this perspective. Again, it does just strike me as, like, your boy Hans in 1332 being like, whew, I've got a few blisters and stuff. I sure hope there is no Black Death coming to swallow us all.
Well, if you have the blisters,
Yeah.
the premonition really isn't that far.
I don't know that much about how the Black Plague actually
Oh,
works.
it rips through you.
It does, but I wonder if there is like a stage where you're kind of fine, just a bit feverish or something, or if it just hits you real hard.
Yeah, but like it's within like 48 hours, I think.
If anyone in the audience has had the Black Death, please comment. It does still. There's a couple of cases every year.
It's terrifying.
I know, right? Anyway, next time we shall have our recap episode, and we shall discuss Be Right Back, The Waldo Moment, and White Bear. Ooh, close one.
Yeah, and after that, we're going to watch the first episode of Black Mirror.
That's terrifying. Like, that's... Did you think we'd get there?
I didn't really think of it like that.
I didn't think about it like that either. I didn't think about it at all.
Yeah, no, we'll have to start figuring out what we're doing next for real now.
Yeah, well, we're gonna do season 7.
Well, yeah. We have buffer, actually. Like, season 7's like 5 episodes or something.
I think so, yeah.
So, yeah, we have quite a bit of buffer.
Yeah, we don't have to think... Oh, I love not thinking. Anyway, thank you for coming to our podcast where we talk way too much about a show.
Yeah, no, I don't... I want to say, like, sort of in not summarizing this episode, right? There's a lot of interesting premonitions here. I don't think they, like, quite amount to a whole. So this is like from our direction of watching it, very classic Black Mirror.
That's true. You did say, like, oh, they were having an affair, which they weren't. I want to point that out.
They were just having a regular hookup.
That being said,
but they were cheating on their political tendencies.
That's true. I think we can count that as like a 0.5 on the ding meter.
It's an effort.
Also, I just want to say, they had no chemistry, right? Like, when he was like, oh, I'm really happy for the first time after having sex with her. I'm like, no.
She's working to sell it, but, like, I do not read it as a, oh, this guy's so charming moment. Because, like, he's, like, I don't know if it's, like, a step above or a step below immediately crying.
I think I'd rather have the tears.
Yeah, no, it's...
I don't know. It just like it did act like that scene activated fight or flight instincts within me.
For me, definitely flight.
Yeah.
Just pure flight. Yeah, God.
Maybe we should like recommend people to just skip all like sex/romance scenes in this episode.
No. We don't want to be part of like the decline of sex scenes in television.
It's not a prude thing. It's just that there's never any chemistry, and they're too British. Yeah, British people aren't supposed to have sex.
Well, yeah, but they're really insistent.
Yeah, God.
But yeah, no. As a general disclaimer, this podcast despises Britain as an entity as a whole, but we do understand that British people are by and large just normal.
Yeah, we recommend you get out there. Maybe go to Scotland. Like, we'll have another independence referendum at some point, right?
I don't know about that.
Okay, well, there's always Belgium.
Yeah, you can flee to Belgium.
I think that would just be ironic.
Just take the Eurostar. You'll be right over.
Exactly.
Just go through the channel.
We are dragging this ending out too much.
Alright, thank you so much for listening. We'll see you for the recap.
See ya!